Got it. Okay.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Psycho Clown World. And I have managed to grit my hands on ambiguous figs. Figs, it's been forever. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you? Yes, it's been a really long time. I forgot how to do everything.
I know, folks, I was just explaining to Figs, I actually did a little pre-record by myself just so I could remember where all the buttons were so I didn't screw something up because I'm kind of notorious for doing that. But yeah, actually, I'm doing all right. I actually took 4 days off. I took July 1st off because that was my birthday, which was Saturday, and then I took all the way up to today off, so I have to go back to work tomorrow. Which it's been quite nice. Although on my birthday, which was kind of funny, I ended up spending the whole day recovering because I actually had a heat stroke on Thursday
Oh, jeez.
at work. Like
All that
literally,
hot down
well,
there, huh?
oh yeah, it's so hot that I saw two hobbits running across a canyon and throwing a little golden ring down into the bottom of the canyon pit. You know, it's pretty hot. So
Yeah, it's been bad down there.
yeah, yeah, Thursday I ended up. It was kind of Thursday is when I had the heat stroke. Um, like I was driving the work truck, and then I started feeling my hands kind of crinkle up and like doing this. And as I was driving, I felt the tingles going down my arms and in my hands. I felt it coming up my neck. I felt it going down my legs. I'm like, oh crap! And I hit the turn signal. I got off the highway right away, and I told my guy, my number one guy, especially, I was like, dude, you're gonna have to drive. I'm about to have a heat stroke. And he's like, what? He's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yep, dead serious. We pulled over, and he's like, you're serious? I'm like, yeah, get out, move over. So I was telling Ray, who was also in the front, because I had 6 guys in my truck. I'm like, dude, start pouring cold water on my head and get some in my mouth so I can start cooling down. And poor Ray, love the guy to death. He was like freaking out. He's a younger. He's like, what in the world? And he's like, and I was like, I might lose consciousness. I don't know, but keep pouring it on my head. Just like give me about 30 seconds to a minute, and then give me a little bit more. Just I'll get out of it. And Sebastian, who's driving, he's like, Ray goes, Sebastian, what am I supposed to do? He goes, do what he said to do. He's gone through this before. And I'm like, yeah, I have. And like my speech was also like, yeah, I've done this before. Like it was bad. So my eyes, I couldn't keep my eyes open. I ended up falling up against Ray, all clenched up like this. But I could hear everything. I was still conscious. My eyes closed. I couldn't keep them open, but I could hear everything going on it was a really weird experience because the last time I had one, I never passed out. Like that never happened.
Yeah.
So, but then it was like, whoa. So then, after within probably 2.5 hours, I was actually down, but like we stopped at they did the job, and I was kind of slowly I was coming out of it, and I was sitting up. By the time we got there, I could sit up, and I was getting more water in me. And then from that job to the next, I had them stop at the gas station to get me a bottle called Electrolyte.
Yep.
And I just chugged the whole thing because usually when you have a heat stroke, you just want to barely sip on water, just a little bit, because you don't want to throw up. I chugged that whole freaking bottle, and literally within 5 minutes, I was like, oh man, this is feeling. I can start moving my fingers. Everything was working a lot better. I'm like, okay, so it's an electrolyte deficiency apparently. And
You're sweating.
yeah, I was sweating, but not sweating. It was really kind of weird. I knew I was hot and I could feel the sweat, but it was like evaporating almost, even though it was humid. It was a really weird one. But the really thing that really made me go, what the heck, is that at that moment, the same time that I was having that heat stroke, there was literally an M flare going off, like at the exact same moment. And so I'm like,
That's
this,
wild.
yeah, it was really weird. Like the very moment that M flare was peaking is when I was having it. It was odd.
Wow.
So yeah, so Friday I spent all day recovering, which is why we moved the thing to Sunday for the Sam's Place chat for the birthday
Yeah.
chat. Because it was like Saturday, I probably took like 4 or 5 naps. Like I was just like, ugh, I was just trying to recover and sleep.
Your body needed rest
Can you hear
after all.
that background noise or no?
I a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the person that does the lawn here decided they wanted to show up here, and now they're like blowing outside, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But so, and then yesterday it was a really nice day. Went down to Canyon Lake, which is a man-made lake. It's like spring fed, but like a couple of small water systems feed it, I guess. But
Yeah.
but the water is like crystal clear. It's almost blue. The water that looks amazing. And so we were there, and I had a really crazy moment while I was there. I was there with my friend Teresa and her little boy Kyler, and I had my back to the water, and I was talking because he was up in the shallows. Now the water kind of goes off like this, and then it drops. Like you walk out like maybe 3 feet, and you're about 3 feet in water. Like it drops pretty quickly. And there's of course boats and stuff, and so we were watching them, and there were some people next to us and whatever, and there was this really a larger lady that was kind of like blocking my perfect view of Kyler, but you could kind of still see where he was at, and he's in the shallow part. And I turned and I looked at Teresa, and she was facing the water, and I said to her, I said, now this is what's really weird. As I was speaking these words, it was happening behind me. I had some kind of a higher intuition, like, I don't know, it was a really strange moment. I turned to her, I said, we really need to keep an eye on Kyler, because with the wakes and stuff with the waves, one could, kind of push him off his feet and, make him lose his balance, and then suck him back down and then push him back down again, and he could wind up under the water. So we're going to have to keep our eye. And as I'm saying this, right as I got towards the end of it, like, I felt fingers and a thumb on my face trying to turn my head. And
Really?
as I just snapped my head around, and on the other side of this large woman, I could see his hair, because he's got kind of longer hair, and she put it up in a little bun up on top, to keep it out of his hair, out of his eyes. I could see the bun go underwater, and I was like, oh shit! And I had my phone in my hand. I just tossed the phone and went running right over. And the one lady's like, "Can he swim? Can he swim?" And then she grabbed him and she kind of tossed him. A different lady that was like out in the deeper water, she kind of grabbed him, and she was like, she was in like 8-10 foot of water. Like he was out that quick, and she grabbed him and tossed him. I went out and grabbed him and pulled him up, and I'm like, "Hey!" And like he went like as I was speaking, it was happening like a immediate ordeal, and like Teresa didn't know what was happening, because she was once I turned around, she was behind me. All she could see was my back and me run into the water. That's all she could see. And then when she saw me grab it, she was like, "Oh my gosh!" And so she's wanted to come to them. I was like, "Whoa," because moms can kind of make things a little
So,
worse.
so
What
hold
I mean?
on a second. I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you had this notion that you should watch him, was it kind of like, I don't know, I don't really want to call it like a vision, but maybe like a scrapbook in your brain, kind of like what was it, just a notion, or did you kind of see it like memory? I don't know quite. I don't want to call it like a vision, because it's almost not what I'm
Yeah.
trying to describe. It's not like it's like running in real time, but maybe still shots
Well,
fast.
the thing is like when we first got there, we got there like 10:30 in the morning, and it wasn't very busy at all. There was only a few boats on the water, and there was only like maybe 5 other people on the beach where we were at. Even though it was a rocky beach, it was only us and like maybe 5 other people, and they were down about 50, 60 yards. So there was a little gap, but so there was only a few boats. So the water traffic wasn't that bad. With the wakes and the waves, it wasn't that bad. But when I was noticing that the boat traffic was getting worse, that's when I was like, yeah. And so I just turned to her and I was like, hey, and I turned to her and I said, we might want to keep an eye on Kyler, specifically being, and like, as I was saying, like, it was really weird. It was like a real time thing, but I was facing away from Kyler, facing her, and it was like a real time thing happening. I kid you not, it was almost like a higher self just like grabbed my face. And what really made me snap, I felt something on the side of my face, and then I felt like the rest of the hand grab around, and once I felt the thumb, and I felt the urge to turn, I just snapped my head, because it was like, I need to look. It's like, whoa, and down to the water I went. And
Wow.
he was only like 3 feet from the edge of the water. He was only about 3-4 feet in,
Yeah.
and the boat wave just badoosh and took him right off his feet. And then because
Wow.
it goes back and forth, with the waves and stuff. It went whoosh, whoosh, boof, and down he went. It was just that quick.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, I don't know if you can see it on this. Can you see this pink spot on my finger right here?
Yeah.
Okay. So check this out. So you can see that it's kind of pink. Well, Thursday when I had my that heat stroke,
Yeah.
is when this happened.
Hmm.
Because normally this is my ring, my
Yeah.
Atlantean ring. I usually
Yeah.
always wear it on this finger, and it's never had any. I've never had any issues with it before ever. But when like it's like the energy it was emitting was like trying to keep me awake, or keep me out of it or something or whatever. But it got to the point where it was almost like a first-degree burn.
Yeah.
Some all around my face, and I didn't notice it until I got home. Once I got home, because I take my ring off, and I put it. I actually go around. Well, what do you call it? It's a crystal, selenite crystal. It's to cleanse energies and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually put the crystal inside the ring, and then take my other crystal off and set it on top. to kind of clean it. And when I took it off, I was like, "Whoa! Look at my freaking finger!" I mean, there was like skin bubbles and stuff. I'm like, "What in the world?" You know, like I didn't really think much of it until like yesterday. I just kind of like, like how did that happen? What would have caused that? You know, because it's never been there before. You know, I've been out in the hot sun, hands out. You know, you'd think it would have been from the sun heating up the ring, heating up, but it never did that. And I was triple digits for
Yeah.
12 days in a row. But the day that I had my heat stroke, it was actually only 98 degrees. It wasn't that hot. It was actually it was like 10 o'clock in the morning when I had it. So it wasn't super hot yet.
Yeah.
It was just a really weird ordeal. And so I'm like, I think it was sensing something going on with me. And it's just like, no. And so it was trying to radiate out the energy to fight it off, but it just didn't work. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, I
I've had
mean,
it on
you
this
got to
finger
make
ever
sure
since and no
you're
issues.
taking care of yourself too while you're doing this out there in
Crazy.
the heat.
Yeah, crazy stuff, I'm telling you. But anyway, so yeah, what did you think about the stuff I sent you? Don't worry, folks. We're going to be showing you here in a little bit. There's some pretty interesting. We've talked about the old BlackRock a couple of times. I think we might have a little more nail in the coffin, so to speak, about BlackRock.
Oh, I know, right? They're so ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that
I'm over them. You had sent me, I'm just pulling it up here.
I sent
The
you that.
one that I liked the most was, oh, the every conspiracy theorist problem.
Yeah,
That one I
no,
really, really enjoyed. The guy who did it did a really, really great job.
he
When you
did.
guys get to see it, it's it's kind of like, I run around a lot, and I even asked my husband, like, oh well, those freaking conspiracy theorists, at what point do you just go, hey, you know what, these people are asking good questions, they're literally standing out here telling you what they're doing to you, what they want to do to you, but you're still calling me crazy.
Yeah, and you're the
um
crazy one for not. In my opinion, they're the crazy ones for not seeing it. But for me, it
uh,
goes a little deeper than it's the whole phrase conspiracy theory. Like people don't know where it even came from, who invented it, and how it got the negative connotation. That it was
what
coined
the
by the
word
CIA,
actually
by
means.
actually ex-president George Bush. He was the CIA director, and he coined the phrase conspiracy theory when
Yeah.
JFK was assassinated.
Well,
Hmm.
but see, the funny is that when you actually look up what the word really means, you're kind of stupid to use it in today's dialect.
Yeah, the
Uh,
negative connotation. Yeah, it's like, well, that's one of my favorite things. Like, my boss, he's like, "Oh, are you into those conspiracy theory things?" And I'm like, "Why are you saying that like it's a bad thing?" I said they're two separate words. One is conspiracy. I said, do you honestly think that there are no conspiracies in the government or in the military industrial complex that's going on that they don't tell us about? Do you think they tell us everything? And he goes, oh no, I know that they're hiding stuff. I'm like, okay, so there's a conspiracy right there, right there. You just admitted conspiracy. A theory is just my idea of what that conspiracy is. So how is it a negative thing? And it was literally like Agent Smith just came in. I don't know. It just sounds all stupid, crazy stuff. And I'm like, but you're admitting to it that it happens.
I know, I
It's just like,
know.
uh,
It's just, I don't know. Like I said, it really, it's beyond me, why people aren't seeing. And then when you even bring up I had somebody argue with me about the word conspiracy, and um, that I was ignorant because I wouldn't use it in today's context. And I try to tell people, they use these words not in the modern dialect at all.
mhm.
And that's proven, in like the law books, that when you go to court, they're going to use these words against you. So find out what they mean, find out what words and what they're truly speaking to you. It takes a moment, but for some reason they refuse to believe that these people are evil.
Yeah. They, trust me, I know about the whole court thing. They'll sit there and try and use Latin and all this other stuff, and it's like, no, 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 no. I don't speak Latin. We will use English terms in the true context. Then I break out Black's Law Dictionary, and like there's certain rules and laws that you can actually stem before you even go to court. You can actually stem the language. Any language that is to be used is in English only, no Latin terms whatsoever. I mean, you can actually put all this stuff in stipulation, and then they can't do it because if they do it, then they break the rules, and you actually win your case in court.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
anyway,
It's just
that's a
ridiculous.
yeah. So without ado, let's get into that first little snippet about the whole conspiracy, the one that you're saying. I actually like that one the most. It's like as well. I'm like, but I also like that recruiter from BlackRock who's just sitting there, just spilling the beans, drinking the wine, and it's like, dude, he got a little loose lips when you got that alcohol in you, and he just it's pretty
And
crazy.
so many people tried to defend that. Oh, he's just low level and this is just his opinion. That's fine. But he literally works for the company and he has this opinion. So imagine how much worse it really is.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like, no, pal. No,
I know.
he's definitely a freaking turd clip. This will not let me optimize. Oh, wait a minute here. Just a minute. All right, we're gonna hit pause for a minute, folks. All right, folks, we're gonna try this. Hopefully, it doesn't do a bunch of jumping and skipping around, but we'll see because I was having some issues with it earlier. But this is something that's, and most people that follow my channel and love this segment with Figgy and I love doing this with you, Figs. It's been way too long. I've been working my tail off. I know you have been too. That's why I'm so happy we got a chance to get together. But this is every one of us. I would consider all of us a conspiracy theorist. Like, to be honest with you, most of us are. We know that stuff's going on. We have certain theories, but it may not be right. But either way, there's still conspiracy going on. But this guy pretty much nails it, like right on the nail. Yeah, so check this out, folks.
How do you explain to people that the government is full of pedophiles and that our water is being poisoned with fluoride and heavy metals? Clouds are actually created to block the sun, and that chemtrails actually kill people. Our government actually stands for mind control, and that big events are actually staged to keep us distracted from the real truth. Practice rituals at these events without the fans actually knowing. When a doctor gives you a shot, he actually gets a bonus. Now, they don't do that for chemotherapy, so why do they do that for vaccine shots? And that war and our military is actually used to decrease the population. Yeah. How do you explain that to people?
Good question. How do you explain that to
Yeah,
people, Fig?
I don't know. I haven't figured that one out yet. I guess sometimes I just like feeling validated, and he did it so well that it made me feel good.
Yeah, I know. When I first watched it, I just kind of giggled. I was like, dude, he's hitting it right on. Like, how do you explain it to people? Like, there's so much to it. How do you even start to break it down? But the
Well,
nice
it's a,
people
oh,
are starting to wake up. I mean, there's people at my work, um,
yeah.
and like I've told them so many things since I've been working there since January. I've been telling them all different kinds of stuff and whatever. And the one guy, he's another foreman, Javier, and Julian too. Like, I'll tell them about different stuff, and then like within 2 or 3 weeks, or sometimes just a few days, they'll be like, "Dude, you remember the other day when you had mentioned this and this and this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Dude, you were right because I saw this." And like Javier, he sends me stuff on text. He's always sending me stuff all day. He's like, "Dude, you were right. Oh my gosh, you've been talking about this." Where I'm like, "Dude, I told you." Like, he's like, "How do you know this stuff so soon?" I'm like, "Research."
I think that another tactic people need to remember is that you're never going to change anybody, right? So you can't go into it thinking that you're going to rally forces against the evil of this world, right? You just have
Yeah.
to leave it with the fact that chances are they're going to be retarded.
Mhm.
But don't
Retard.
stop planting the seeds, right? Don't
Yeah.
stop making you little quips or little comments or, oh, actually, did you know this? Because what I've also noticed is eventually they're like, oh shit. And then they'll start asking questions and you always have to keep that so you don't get frustrated and upset and depressed. You always have to keep it in the back of your mind, like I said, that you're not a savior. You're not going to save anybody. They're
No.
going to have to figure their own way out of this.
Yep, it's going to be
And
exactly what you said. You're going to have to plant seeds, and once enough, when you plant the seeds, and then eventually you start throwing a little bit of water on it, maybe a little fertilizer, and then pretty soon it'll sprout, and they're going to start going, "Hey, wait a minute here," and then hopefully that enacts them to go and do research or gather nutrients for themselves instead of you
yeah, or
having
they're
to do
going
it,
to be
and then it grows to yeah.
yeah, I work with this crazy person and this is what they said. And then before you know it, they're, dropping those little seeds everywhere. And more people are going to wait. It's just, you can't internalize other people's bull crap. You
Right.
have to keep it inside of yourself that they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And the best that you can do is to be calm, level-headed, and provide good factual information for people.
Oh yeah. Well, it actually kind of made me think about the whole term star seeds. I'm sure you've heard of that multiple times, star seed, whatever.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I'm one. It resonates with me, but not in the way I think that most people think about a star seed. Like, oh, they're supposed to come here and bring all this light and love, and yeah, that's okay. But I go a little bit deeper with it. A seed, a star seed. You were seeded here to plant seeds, seeds of information, of truth,
Yeah.
to plant the seeds. A star seed. I'm being from the stars to plant seeds in other people to get them to wake up.
Yeah. That's a really good way to look at it. And a lot of people, they want to think that, you're just not from here. Well, maybe, your soul's not from here. I can
None of our souls
but your body is.
Yeah.
Your body is.
Yeah,
And
this physical
it's a
avatar.
really good analogy. I like the way that you put the spin on it. And you can't detach yourself from this material world because we're all here.
And that's the thing. It's like this physical avatar that is my body. It is of this planet for sure. But my soul, no. And in fact, no one that actually has a soul, because there are plenty of NCPs out here, non-character players. But those of us that are alive and we do have souls, our souls are not from here either. Period.
No. And I do. I agree with that. And I know that there can be that disconnect, but we can't disconnect from the fact that we are here and, do what you can do in this realm and in this body. And I think that a lot of us are on the path to somewhere. I have no idea where. I think anybody who's going to tell you where is going to be kidding, because nobody knows nothing. But I do like your analogy, and I think that it's better than the one that's given right out there about being a star seed, because you're right. We're here to plant seeds, and you can't force anybody into anything.
Exactly. All you can do is
plant the good plantings are going to grow, right? Like, just
that every seed will grow into a sprout or into a tree or a flower or whatever it's meant to be. Exactly.
Yep.
But that's the whole thing. Instead of like, oh, star seed. Yes, I love people. I'm a being of light. In fact, technically, we are all beings of light, because if you know anything about atoms and protons and the light frequency, we're all beings of light. Like literally, we're beings of light. My body is light. Like the wall has its own light frequency. If I could match my light frequency to the wall, I could actually put my hand right through it. So it's one of those,
Don't get me started on biophotonics.
Oh, okay. Pump the brakes. But yeah, so like I've really put some thought into that whole starseed thing a little bit, and I'm like, there's this stigma that everybody thinks that starseeds are, but it's like, I think we're just here to plant seeds, like a seed planter, and it made more sense to me, because I know that that me being a like for all of us, and I've said this before, be a beacon of light. If you think you're alone in the dark, look around. You could be the beacon of light that other people are looking to, which is true. But at the same time, I think we're here to plant those seeds, whether it be a seed light for other people to start shining, I don't know, or just to start waking up to researching and doing stuff for themselves. Go, hey, wait a minute, no, this isn't right. This isn't right.
You have to unchain think about how long we've all been indoctrinated into this matrix.
Our whole lives.
Exactly. And then our parents' whole lives, and, thousands and thousands of years we've been caught in this system. So I know that it makes us frustrated, because we're, 2 steps ahead of the general population, it seems, right? But think about how much just their own DNA, right? So how long your DNA passes on so much information, and we're so heavily indoctrinated.
It's either 14. Our bodies either hold 14 or 15 generations worth of genetic DNA memories.
And look what we can do in just a few years to somebody's psyche. Now you take all of that 14 or 15 years or 15 generations rather, and you pack it into today's body with today's, psyops and games.
Yeah.
And
That many
we can't be
generations of lies and
frustrated.
psyop, and now we have to debug and defrag all of that book.
Right. And think about how scary it was too when everything started to fall apart for you. Right. Your whole world comes crashing down. And all of a sudden you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
And
Well, you remember me telling you, like, when I actually went through the beginning of my awakening, I was actually sick for 3 days, like trembling, like my body was literally debugging and like getting rid of a bunch of crap so that I could actually absorb truth. It was crazy. Yeah, I was literally in bed for 3 days. My ex-girlfriend was like worried about me.
Yeah. I absolutely, I get it. And I don't deny it to anybody, and it's all going to affect us differently. Right. And, like I said, I went through a pretty heavy depression, and then I got angry. It was like, weird, stages of grief.
We go through all these emotions, you go through the depression of, oh my gosh, we're all just screwed. And then you get through this, then you get to another point where like holding a shotgun, like, get off my lawn,
And then you're like taking hard lines of hopium.
Yeah. In fact, I think I even showed a little GIF where it shows like the different stages of awakening, where you're like, oh, the aliens are gonna be here and all this, and it's an old sad depression, like, oh, we're all gonna die, we're screwed, and then it's like, get off my lawn, and the guy's holding a shotgun. Like, it's all these different things. Yeah, I've literally experienced every one of them. Like, oh my gosh, whoever created this little meme is a genius.
100%.
I loved it. Oh man. So, folks, in the past, we have talked about BlackRock, and we've made the connection to the Black Cube, BlackRock, Black Cube. Also, now there's also a connection to BlackRock with a certain Black rock that is said to be at the North Pole. Not sure. In fact, the name of, I can't remember the exact name of it, but there's I think it's the Reese's map, and on there it shows, like a way into, the Arctic region, not Antarctica. I think I said Antarctica, but the North Pole, the Arctic region. And it shows these little areas around it. And in the middle of it is the name of some mountain, and it's supposed to be a black rock. So, and I can't remember the exact name of, but it's something that you can always go and research. But it's on the Reese's map. And it's really interesting to look at, and you go, this is kind of nuts. And now we got this BlackRock company. And of course, it's tied to Saturn with the whole cube thing. So this next little clip here is from a gentleman who is a recruiter for BlackRock. And there is a gal who is an undercover reporter, and she's speaking to this guy and has a little camera like on her little lapel of, you can't see her or what she's wearing, but she's got like a little hidden camera, and you can tell that it's like down near her chest. Because, when he's looking at, when he's talking to her, he's looking up and he's like looking at her face, but the camera is like down here. So it was a hidden camera for sure. Like, he had no idea. I don't know how they managed to hide it. I couldn't tell you all that, but this guy spills the beans about a lot of stuff, and it's quite impressive. Check this out.
They don't want to be in the news. They don't want people to talk about them. They don't want to be anywhere on the radar.
Why not?
I don't know, but I suspect it's probably because it's easier to do things when people aren't thinking about it. All of these financial institutions, they buy politicians. You can take this big ton of money, and then you can start to buy people. I work for a company called BlackRock.
Meet Serge Varley, a recruiter at BlackRock.
Let me tell you, it's not through who's the president. It's who's controlling the wallet. So it's
And who's that?
the hedge funds, BlackRock, the banks. These guys run campaign financing. Yep, you can buy your candidates. And obviously, we have the system in place. First, there's the senators, and these guys are rich. You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. I can give you 500K right now, no questions asked.
Yeah.
I didn't do this to be done.
Does everybody do that? Does BlackRock do that?
It doesn't matter who wins.
You're still right.
They're my pocket at this point.
Here's Serge Varley on how good war is for BlackRock's business.
Do you have any thoughts on the Ukraine-Russia war?
Yeah, I mean, I do have thoughts.
What are they?
Ukraine is good for business. You know that, right? I'll give an example. Russia blows up Ukraine's grain silos. Price of wheat's gonna go mad up. Ukrainian economy is tied very largely to the wheat market, global wheat market. Prices of bread, literally everything it goes up and down. This is fantastic if you're trading. Volatility creates opportunity to make profit. War is real good for business. It's exciting when goes wrong, right? BlackRock manages 20 trillion. It's incomprehensible numbers.
BlackRock Serge Varley says all of this is above a normal person's understanding.
You're like an undercover reporter. I don't know. No people don't give a shit. This is beyond them. The whole thing of like domination from a concept it's so interesting.
Hi, I'm James O'Keefe with OMG News. Here we are with our latest story, this time on BlackRock, one of the world's leading asset and investment managers, which owns significant shares of companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Anheuser-Busch, Meta, Target, Procter & Gamble, Comcast, CNN, Fox, and yes, Pfizer, just to name a few. At OMG, we do not shy away from exposing powerful companies, and we're not afraid of powerful people. So we decided to take a look for ourselves at the influence BlackRock has on our politics and the influence they have on our culture. So to do that, what better place to start a hidden camera investigation than into a self-described gatekeeper at BlackRock?
Like, you're kind of like a fucking gatekeeper at BlackRock.
Yeah, I am. I decide people's fates. Every fucking day, I literally decide how somebody's life is going to be shaped.
That's so powerful. I love it.
Yeah, it's I don't know, the whole thing of like domination from a concept it's so interesting.
Introducing Serge Varley, whose LinkedIn says he's worked for Morgan Stanley, Citadel, and now as a recruiter at BlackRock.
I work for a company called BlackRock. I'm not actually a finance guy. I know what happens because I'm recruiting people who do these things. Mm-hmm. I'm the person who headhunts people from other firms, so I would.
Okay, Figs. I just wanted to say one thing. And for everyone paying attention, are you listening to his accent? He does not sound American.
They never are.
And if you look at him, he does not look American either. He has a very strong Ukrainian look about him. Does he not? Like, some words over there, his accent, the way he pronounces it, I'm like, this dude is not American. I've never heard a New York person speak like this.
No.
Especially in Manhattan. Sorry. Just an observation, folks. So,
I know.
We'll continue.
Coach, hey, this is a good reason why you should come work for us.
Serge tells us who really runs the world, how they do it, and just how much it costs to buy people, like politicians.
Let me tell you, it's not through who's the president. It's who's controlling the wallet. So it's
And who's that?
The hedge funds, BlackRock, the banks. These guys run the world. Campaign financing. Yep, you can buy your candidates.
How so?
All of these financial institutions, they buy politicians.
How do they run the world?
You acquire stuff. You diversify, you acquire, you keep acquiring, you spend whatever you make in acquiring more. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Like, imagine you've invested in like 10 different industries, from food to drinks to like technology, right? One of them fails, it doesn't matter. You have 9 others to back you up. Risk management is inherently in just about everything, and in the finance space, it's all about it's all about the money you make. You don't let it sit. You keep using it over and over, and
Reinvest.
Yeah, and it exponential growth.
And then once you just own a little bit of everything, is that where the control?
Yeah, you own a little bit of everything. And that little bit of everything gives you so much money on a yearly basis that you can take this big ton of money, and then you can start to buy people. Obviously, we have this system in place. First, there's the senators, and these guys are cheap. You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. It doesn't matter who wins.
You're still right.
They're in my pocket at this point. I can give you 500K right now, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do what needs to be done? They're like, yeah, of course.
And
why not?
does like everybody do that? Does BlackRock do that?
The BlackRock recruiter also tells us about how the U.S. government relies on BlackRock for their economic simulation computational power.
Economic simulation. They need to understand the impact of something, right? They're gonna raise the interest rate, for example. It's gonna create this cascade of various factors that people they're not sure what it's gonna do, basically.
And just how f***ing great the Ukraine war is for business.
Do you have any thoughts on the Ukraine-Russia war?
Ukraine is good for business. You know that, right? We don't want the conflict to end.
Why?
We don't want the conflict to end as a country. The longer this goes on, the weaker Russia is. I'll give an example. Russia blows up Ukraine's grain silos. Price of wheat's gonna go mad up. So what are you gonna do if you're a trading firm? The moment that news hits, within a millisecond, you're gonna pump trades into whoever the wheat suppliers are, into their stocks. Within an hour or two, that stock goes up, and then you sell, and you just made, I don't know, however many mil.
Why would a news channel promote a side in war?
Because it's also good for business too. I mean, what's news? News, right? What does news feed on? They feed on strategy, they feed on up events. That's what people like to watch. So when it happens, it's good business. More viewers. When nothing's happening, watches news. I don't watch news.
They're all pushing like the same talking point. Like you generally, when you look at news, like
it's propaganda. Ukrainian economy is tied very largely to the wheat market, global wheat market. This is fantastic if you're trading. Volatility creates opportunity to make profit. War is real good for business. It's exciting when goes wrong, right?
Serge also speaks on BlackRock-influenced news and even gave our journalists some tips.
based on everything we know now, when they say to sell, does that mean we should buy?
And sell, yeah. It's like, Jim Cramer. If you do exactly the opposite of what he's advising, you actually make money.
Huh?
Yeah. It's called the inverse Cramer. They don't want to be in the news. They don't want people to talk about them. They don't want to be anywhere on the radar.
Why not?
I don't know, but I suspect it's probably because it's easier to do things when people aren't thinking about it.
And when Serge was asked about insider trading and if Larry Fink recently sold $100 million in BlackRock shares, here is what he said.
Larry Fink recently sold $100 million worth of BlackRock.
Wow. Damn, Larry, that's not a good sign. The people who trade and make money, they do this the moment the information is out. And that info is typically disseminated at private levels first before it hits the mainstream. If you want to invest smart, there's a tracker that tracks all politicians and where they have their stocks. Preemptively, if we think the stock price is going to tank, we're going to sell so that we sell it high, it tanks, and we buy back. And we didn't make, but we preserved a few mil.
But perhaps the most remarkable, profound comment by the BlackRock recruiter is the suggestion that nobody is going to care about what he is saying here or confessing here. Because as he says, quote, normal people don't give a shit.
You're like an undercover reporter.
Really? No, don't normal people worry about this stuff?
No, normal people don't give a shit. This is beyond them.
That these types of questions my reporter asked are beyond all of you. The answer is something that you, the people, the consumers, the shareholders, couldn't possibly understand.
It's been said that it's easier to fool a man than to convince him he's been fooled. There is no question that many Americans are still asleep. who may not want to wake up from their necessary illusions. But we hope and believe by showing these tapes of this BlackRock gatekeeper speaking so plainly on so many topics that not only we wake up people, but also inspire others to come forward on institutions like BlackRock. Oh, and this is just part one. Stay tuned tomorrow for my meeting with Serge Varley. We also reached out for comment to BlackRock, and here's what they had to say.
Now I like this part. After this has all been come out, he removed his photo. I don't want anybody to know what I look like now.
I know, and they go through and they try to scrub it.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. And so folks, you heard it from a recruiter for BlackRock. And he was on LinkedIn, and you could and that's I think that's how they found him, was he was on LinkedIn. Folks, this is real stuff. This should be, hopefully this is something to plant seeds of eye-opening, like what's really happening. We've talked about BlackRock before. In fact, there's another company in China that's as big as BlackRock over there. And it's like a competition between these different corporations that are literally trying to just take over the entire world and have their fingers in everything. It's an insane venture.
Yeah, they also they have accrued a large amount of money to buy residential housing.
Yeah.
And that is just after they lowered the FHA housing credit score.
Dr. Kissinger.
Right. Now this is the last little part. Now, for those of you who don't know, BlackRock is intimately tied to who, Figs?
Well, the WEF and Vanguard.
Yep, Vanguard and the World Economic Forum. Mr. Klaus Schwab, you will eat the bugs.
Schwabi.
Yep, and we've heard multiple times, multiple different sources, different presidents talk about a new world order, and here he goes saying this.
Dr. Kissinger, our satellite time is running out. What wonderful opportunity to conclude our week here with such concrete proposals and ideas of how we can really create, I would say, a new world order.
There it is again. So that whole new world, it all boiled down right here to the World Economic Forum. They're the ones that have been pushing the agenda to the presidents of the past. And in fact, I think the first president I remember speaking about it, saying it, was actually Ronald Reagan. Believe it or not, folks. Do you remember that one?
Me. Yes, I do, but I had to add that in there. They're slimy, fat white men.
They're what? Sorry.
I said they're slimy, fat white men.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on, and it's like, what in the world? Now, you did, we were kind of texting while we were recording that back and forth. There's actually a document that there was a file that I saw somewhere about the CIA saying that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the whole ordeal with Ukraine.
Yeah, I have that.
What's that?
You want me to send it to you? I have that.
Well, if you've got it on your computer, you can share it.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, but I'll send it to you.
Yeah, if you want to send it to me, I'll put it in my saved. But yeah, check this out, folks. This again, I'm touching on this one more time, the whole Illuminati game of conspiracy that came out in 1994. And this is just going to be a quick little rundown, and you will see exactly, you'll start seeing things like, hey, this has actually happened. You will actually see a lot of these predictive cards that came out in 94 on things that did happen. Check this out. Now, the great thing about this is that when this came out in '94, if you actually bought this deck, many of us know that they have to tell you what they're going to do. Now, with this card deck, you didn't know the order, but the thing is, they have to tell you. They have to put it out there for you to be able to know, so that way it negates their karma, because they don't want bad karma. They are fully, whether you believe in karma or not is irrelevant. The point is, they firmly, solidly, unequivocally believe in karma. So they have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. So that way, hey, we told you what we were planning on doing, so that way you could protect yourself. But so that's why they do this stuff. Some people, well, why would they tell us? Well, because they have to. In their beliefs in karma, they have to tell you, so that way they can actually continue to get away with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's that whole compliance thing, right? Ignorance, compliant, ignorance.
Yeah.
Ignorance, compliance. However you want to say it, right? Because people they just don't believe that they're this evil. And so then they just go right into it, agreeing.
Okay, yeah, this is the one right here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay.
The war will continue to gnaw away at the Russian leadership beneath the steady diet of state propaganda and practiced repression. That disaffection creates a once-in-a-generation opportunity for us at CIA, at our core, a human intelligence service. We're not letting it go to waste. We recently used social media, our first video post to Telegram, in fact, to let brave Russians know how to contact us safely on the dark web. We had 2.5 million views in the first week, and we're very much open for.
Oh my gosh, the CIA is on Telegram.
It's fun, isn't it?
And then they're talking about the freaking dark web and stuff like, so there you go from a CIA director. The dark web is real. And now they're on Telegram. Oh my God.
I don't know how these people that work for these schmucks even live with themselves. Your money is going to be well and good while you're burning in hell. Just so you know, guys.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's bad, right? Like, they're just like fully on out there telling everybody, and nobody really, they're just still blinded by it. They just ignore it. Like, it'll go away. They're not blind. They ignore it.
Yeah. Whoa, that was I actually saw that somewhere. Remember, I told you, I was like, I seen that somewhere, but I didn't open it. I didn't open it, the video file or to watch
it.
it.
In Figgy Facts.
Was it on? Okay, it was on yours. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I checked out a few different channels today, and I was like, I saw that, and I was like, man, I know I saw it somewhere. I just didn't remember where I seen it. But yeah, that's crazy. So, by the way, happy fake Freedom Day, everybody.
I love you, OP.
Yeah, OP, we love you. But no, it's really true. Live for Independence Day. Yeah, independence from what? Independence Day from who? We never were. It was an illusion.
It is. It's what is that? Giving bread and circuses, right?
Oh,
but
gee.
hey, we don't even get 10 cents off of hot dogs this year.
Well, that's rude. I think it only costs 10 cents to make a flipping hot dog, to be honest with you. Well,
I know, but BlackRock wants money, so they're going to charge you $8 for that shit.
Oh, man. Well, actually, if you're using like a cheap off-brand hot dog, it probably only costs like 5 cents to make. So, but the high-quality ones, like Nathan's or like what's the Hebrews? Those are probably more like 25 cents maybe.
Is there really a quality hot dog? I mean, let's just call a spade a spade
I will
here.
I will say yes, there is. There's also, I think it's called Vienna hot dog, and they're actually links. You actually have to cut them individually.
Oh yeah, I know what those are.
Yeah. Now I will tell you that Nathan's and Hebrew International are actually all kosher, no pork, no nothing. It's actually all beef. They are a much higher quality hot dog than, let's say, like a Ballpark Frank. Or
let's give it the lab test. I
you got
I
a
like
lab
hot
test to
dogs.
put it
Don't
in?
get me wrong. I like hot dogs. I do. But when we're comparing dogs, really, it's all trash meat.
Okay, well, have you ever had a Nathan's hot dog?
I have. I
Okay.
I can't eat beef franks, man. They give me such indigestion. It'd be like 4 days and I'll be still tasting that beef hot dog.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane. Too much grease for me.
So the Nathans, when I was eating hot dogs, Nathans I thought were pretty good. Hebrews are pretty decent. I think I like Nathans over Hebrews, but then I've also had a Vienna hot dog, and I will say Viennas are a little bit, but they're pricier, but there's a texture and a taste to them, a quality that is definitely higher, in my opinion. But it's like you were saying, when you really start looking into what's in them, and I will say this is, please folks, I mean, look it up. But I was watching this. You remember the How It's Made that was on the I think it was on A&E, that How It's Made. I actually watched this one on how hot dogs and what do you call them, Johnsonville brats and stuff like that, and how they're made. There's a specific ingredient. I'm going to say chemical, but ingredient they put in called sodium erythobate. And what that is literally ground up mealworms that are put into the hot dogs to help them to stick and cake together.
I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. I mean, the actual crap that they put in our food and that is just, they've omitted from telling you, is just disgusting.
Yeah, for sure. So really,
and, like
we've been
mealworms are
eating
really
the bugs
toxic.
for a while. What?
So those freeze-dried mealworms, they're shit. They're completely, totally. I don't know, anybody who has a lizard will know what I'm talking about, that you shouldn't be consuming mealworms under any circumstances.
Yes. Yeah. And well, the thing is, like, if you, being from Michigan, I've gone ice fishing a number of times, and you get the mealworms. And, they got that nasty little hard brown head, and their bodies are like yellow. And you put the hook in, and you go down for ice fishing. I used them for ice fishing many times. I would never have thought that they're grinding that shit up and putting it into and it's like, now, when I was younger, I used to love, when I was little, up until probably about 8 or 9 years old, I would eat a hot dog every day I got home from school, from probably 6 years old, from 6 to about 9. I had bologna sandwiches, same kind of stuff. I would have a bologna sandwich going to school, and when I'd come home, I would take a hot dog and I'd put it on a little fork, a long cooking fork, and I'd turn on the fire, and I'd grill my own hot dog, and I'd put paste picante sauce on it. And now granted, sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, oh, that sounds good. But then I'm like, no. But after a while, about 9 years old, I literally was completely turned off. Like, I got sick one time, and it's like, no, I literally didn't eat hot dogs from about 10 years old until I was like in my 20s. Like, I wouldn't eat a hot dog. I wouldn't, like, no bologna sandwich. No, forget it. I wouldn't eat it. Something about it, just my body's had enough. And then I started eating them again, and then found out how it was really. And I was like, okay, nope, never mind. I should have listened to my intuition when I was a kid and like, nope, just forget it. But the only way
there are times that I allow hot dogs,
like chili and cheese and jalapenos and hot sauce and onions. Like, it had to be completely decorated for me to eat it.
They just ruin everything. They ruin everything. Just like a good loaded chili dog, like you're talking about. That's just like, oh
yeah, onions and jalapenos and chili, cheese, and and don't forget the celery salt. If you don't put celery salt on your dog, you're missing out.
I am from the home of the New York dog. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you know about the celery salt.
Kraut and onions.
Kraut. I love sauerkraut. Oof. But anyway, we're getting off topic. It's been a while, so folks, you'll just have to bear with it. So, have you seen a lot of the predictions and stuff of people saying stuff going on around now, between July 1st and July 7th, a lot of different stuff going on. And we had that, what they called the buck moon on July 3rd that came out, and like all this different energies and stuff going on. And what do you gather? You think some people have said the market's going to, like, we're going to have some kind of financial situation going on today.
I have been waiting for that for like 3 years.
I know.
No, I think honestly, everything is like a slow bleed. Everything right now, in my opinion, is just to kill morale. So even something is coming, there's really nothing coming. It's just more freaking propaganda by the propaganda machine.
Yeah, whether it be good or bad news, it's still like
propaganda.
For me, yeah, I start looking at things as like distraction, like smoke mirrors, like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, and then nothing happens. But oh man, I really thought right? Something
because
did.
It isn't like they're not working together. It's not like,
Yeah.
Russia is not part of the young global World Economic Forum leaders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all in cahoots together, and they may have spats here and there, but it's all a controlled burn. And I think a big part of it is to really wear out the morale of people, because once you've dampen the spirit, right? And so people keep hoping, they keep hoping and hoping and hoping, and
Well,
we can't, you can't look out there, you got to look within. I know that sounds hokey. I think Sam would be really proud of me right now.
yeah. Well, no, that's very true. Yep. Hey, Sam, how you doing, bro? Love you. But no, I'm I'm looking at things like, whether it be the people putting out the good propaganda, the good news supposed to lift you up, and then stuff doesn't happen, or the bad news and whatever. I'm still like going right back to my core of what my channel, when I started with Jacob of Ephraim and then had Solar Wolf, had to do with, not just extraterrestrial, but about Nemesis. And the thing is, there's still a part of me that is thinking that all of this is a distraction to keep us looking over here and looking research, because they don't want us looking up. And that's the biggest thing. We've all seen chemtrails. We all know they're making clouds to try and block the sun, to block the stars, the moon, so we can't see it. I still think it's the big, hey, look over here and start researching over here, instead of actually looking up and going, uh-oh, something's going on. Things are changing. Something's different. Because
I agree. I think
because I did that one video and I showed that it was at Pluto, because the Pluto South Poles got really hot, and then all of a sudden Neptune's did, and then all of a sudden Uranus started moving on its axis. It was noticed at Uranus, and then all of a sudden that moon, I can't remember the name of the moon for the life of me, on Saturn, it's an ice moon, just spewed a 600 mile high off of the moon, a huge ice water plume just broke, and I'm like,
so it's water broke.
Yeah, it's water broke. Yeah. So if you think about it, it goes, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, and then next is Jupiter. So it's like, it's Nemesis being a second star coming in for its orbit to go around our sun. It's like, it's literally slowly tracking its way in this way. And it's like, I'm paying attention to it and I'm noticing that these things are happening. I'm like, I'm starting to think more and more that all this is just distraction, because they don't want us to know, because, all pandemonium would break loose. It's still my underlying original thought
I don't
process.
really know, because if you think about it, they want us into this fear porn corner, right? Oh, war, nuclear war, be afraid. Somebody sneezed, you may die. You know what I mean? It's constant fear porn of something that you're going to die from next, right? And or large portions of the population are. So I don't think that they're trying to keep us from all freaking out. I think they're trying. I think it's much more complex, I think, than that, right? Because if what's coming is truly what's coming, then everybody's, excuse me, effed. Then you know what I mean? There's no more.
Well, here's the thing: there could be a part of them that has the thought process of this, because if you're familiar with the Sumerian cuneiform text, we know that when Anu returned and saw the human on Earth, that that he said that we were being too loud, we were too noisy, and too hectic and whatever, and he's like, that's it, they need to die, and then whoop, and then the flip happened. Now this is according to the text, not Jacob, the text, and that's why there was the flood and a lot of us died. So with them knowing this, because they already know all this stuff, folks, like the upper elites, upper echelons, they know about all this stuff. They know about the Anunnakis returning. They know about, Nibirians, really, because Anunnaki is from any species. So with the Nibirians returning, knowing that this happened, well, maybe if we have these wars and we start killing people off and we don't have such a big population, people aren't as loud, and then we kind of like, oh, and then just kind of at the last minute, like, oh, look, we're peaceful, we're kind, we're nice, we have a new world order, everybody's getting along and everybody's doing things and blah, 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 in fear of themselves. Does that make sense?
Maybe it does. It does. I definitely can follow that. I haven't landed on a particular thought yet. I have been engrossed in a few different books. as of recently, the Osepe, and that's a Masonic book. And I know that sounds, I don't know. I enjoy reading everything from everybody, so I'm not gonna even
Okay,
try to
Figs.
explain it.
Figs.
Yeah,
I'm going to show you a book. Can you see my screen? You can see me just fine?
I can see it.
I'm going to show you a book that I bought about a month and a half ago. I started reading it and I stopped. I ended up being too busy for work and whatever, and I haven't finished reading. I've only read like literally maybe 6 pages.
Okay. Oh, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth,
Yeah, it
right?
is
Is that what that is?
the compendium of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth by Billy Carson.
So, oh, okay. So sweet. I've actually been learning about the genealogy of Thoth and Hermes, and a lot of the stuff that there's this much. I don't know. It's so in depth, right? It's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
um, but if you go back through like Lamech and all of those things, and you really start following the genealogies, we have no idea what's going on. And we should be really open-minded and learning and spiritually centered within ourselves to know what we're looking for. I encourage everybody to hang on to what their notion of the supreme source creator would be, right? And really start to dig in, and then just hold on to that center, right? Because if it doesn't fit with what your idea is, then it's not right for you. But really in the end, we all have the same idea. And these teachings, and have you heard of the 7 sacred sciences
I have.
that the Masons are all into, and how they were bastardized, obviously, right? And the things that we're capable of doing as humans right now, you can prove that biophotonics are a thing. So that means that you emit light from your body. We just can't see it, right? But we could be
Right.
in a completely dark room and you will emit light from your body. Well, there's lots of spiritual texts that say that that light can heal. There's science now
Yeah.
that
Well,
says
the thing is
that light can
humans,
heal.
we for humanity, I will say, just in general, has a hard time keeping in the forefront of their brain. You know, like when saying that we are light bodies. We have light bodies. We are in light bodies. Our bodies are light, and we admit.
We are, right?
But
Yes,
the thing is,
absolutely.
like
We are made
people
up
have such a
of
narrow mind, and they don't keep in the frontal lobe of their cortex that we only see us like this much of the light spectrum versus it being this, this wide. We can only see like this much of it. So
Well, that's because they put those fruity little people out there that go, oh, I'm a light worker and I have, the rainbow hair and 57 piercings in my septums, and I can talk to Jesus on planet ZY42, and I made communication with Doctor Who. These are the people that are out there representing the actual sciences behind it, right? Both spiritual, and it's that whole the loudest person is, who everybody's looking at. So they're not looking at what you just said, that we
I need to make
are
a
quite
disclaimer.
literally.
I need to make a disclaimer, folks. Before you go getting on to me, yeah, I had one eye covered, but I was rubbing my eye, so I wasn't like signifying anything. A little disclaimer here.
Illuminati.
Yeah, none of that stuff. Yeah, because I kind of went like this, and I looked at this, and I was like, "Oh crap! No, none of
Don't
that."
make
So,
me sing
disclaimer.
the triangle pyramid eye at you.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear that from me.
Oh man, what's that?
But anyway, as I was saying, we can, with our own bodies, they talk about lay on hands healing, and that
Yeah.
they just like chalk it up to a miracle, right? They chalk it up to a miracle, but every text everywhere says that people are capable of doing this.
Yeah.
We are capable of great feats within our minds. If you learn how to silence everything, Jacob, you are nothing more than the world's labels. When you talk to me and you tell me, hi, my name is Jacob and I live here and I do this and I do that, everything you're giving me is a label, right?
Yep.
You're not giving me the true Jacob. And I mean, just for this conversation's purposes, right? So
Right.
we adhere to all these labels, and we take these labels and we personalize them, and we make our brain believe that this is what
Who
we
we are.
are, right?
Yeah. And
These
identify as
labels.
that. Yes. Correct.
Exactly. So if you take away and you start taking away those labels, and you look at yourself and the people that are around you, and you realize, okay, look, these are all just like these distinct labels of who you are, and what you're capable of is so much more when you remove. And I'm not telling you not to think and not to, your mind is a computer. It's there to run just basic troubleshooting constantly, right? Because we're constantly on. So
Well,
your brain never
that's the
turns
cool
off.
thing about our brain is that is exactly what's connected to not just our soul but to source. And I want to kind of give an example of that, if you don't mind my kind of jumping in for a second. Our brain, you think you see, like I'm not actually seeing the screen. I'm not seeing the reflection in the camera of myself. I'm not seeing my hands. I'm not hearing my finger snap. I'm not smelling the Palo Santos burning. I don't actually taste anything. We do, those are just senses sensors that collect data that send to our brain for our brain to decipher and interpret what this is, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm smelling, what I'm tasting.
Yeah, it's
We don't
basic
actually taste
operating
it. It's
system.
just sensories. They're just like little sensors, like on a satellite or a computer. They have sensors.
Some people are running
they,
Windows 7, others are running XP, right? That's
right.
just their brains.
And some people are still on
Exactly.
Windows 3.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of those older ones were a little bit smarter with those
Yeah.
models.
So and that's the thing is our brain. If you think about it, your brain is completely covered in dark, complete darkness, no light. You don't want light to get to your brain. It's completely in darkness. So the sensors or its little friends are gathering data, sending that data to our computer brain to break down to our brain what's happening for us to gain a comprehension of what is possibly happening.
Yeah, right. So if you take that analogy that you're using, right, and you start to tame the mind, right? Because I'll think about everything every day as just constant input to your brain, right?
Yep.
And it's a controlled narrative. The Matrix is a controlled narrative. So everything that you see is this constant input. And then you start going outside the lines and your brain kind of jams up for a bit, right?
Yeah.
But for me, what I think that I've stumbled upon is that we need to silence the brain, right? Those thoughts, even just like the passing thoughts that go through, you need to learn how to take them with a grain of salt, right? Because they can be very negative and put you in a very bad position, or they can be very positive. And so if you start to combine both mind and emotion, okay, you start walking in both worlds, both the spiritual and the physical, and you're going to be able to deduce a lot easier what is just basic fundamental programming, what is input labels and programming from the world around us, and what is actually going to spiritually move you. Right. And you're going to find that you're really capable of so much more as a human. There's a reason that they want us locked into just our brain.
Yeah.
Right. Because the brain is the baser function of our machines.
Yeah. And for example, when I was speaking to Teresa in live time, what was happening behind me and not looking at it and seeing it, it's tapping into some form of higher power. And that still blows my mind. Like, so maybe that heat stroke opened up more of those things for me. And that was just like the first example for me to go, holy cow, like I was really tapped into something, even though I just seen it and I just kind of would turn and it was like, as I was speaking, it's like tapping into that, like, whoop, like I had eyes in the back of my head, even though I didn't, like, maybe, was it my higher self? Was it source? Was it what do you call it? The spiritual guy, whatever. But either way, I felt this hand going like this and I snapped my head to look and I was like, oh crap. Like, that's kind of like what you're talking about when we start quieting the mind. And I'll tell you, as soon as I got to the lake, and this is true because normally I go down to the river and I ground. I'll put my bare feet in the water on the ground and I'll just absorb the water, and just kind of like in my mind, just like imagine like negative energies and frequencies and things just kind of like leaving my body. And I always get happy. So we got to the lake, and within 5 minutes, I was smiling and I was in a happy, good mood. And you can, like sometimes you can like notice the difference. Like I got there, took my shoes off, got right in the water, and it was like, oh, it was like an immediate release. Like it was like, oh, and I didn't even have to imagine anything leaving me. As soon as I got in the water, grounded, it's like, oh gosh, this just feels so good. And I was smiling the rest of the time, happy the rest. I was like, I looked at her and she goes, oh, and Teresa, she goes, wow, you seem in a good mood. And I'm like, yeah, I just instantly perked up as soon as my feet hit the water. So yeah,
right. So
it's definitely important to ground, folks, and get to water. Water is life.
Well, and also my other recommendation for people would be, I know that silence, right? And I'm not talking about just in the room or we don't need to look at the material word of silence, okay? I want you to think about like your brain. When our brain, and we're just kind of on autopilot, right? We can do things and we're not thinking of anything. And I'm sure you've had those moments where you kind of snap back to, oh, I wasn't thinking of nothing.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Next thing you know, you're 30 minutes down the highway and you're like, whoa, what the heck?
Yeah, right. Well, so my recommendation for people is uncomfortable as that silence can be, really explore it and try to find more of it, because you're going to find even in that silence, it isn't so silent after all.
No, it's not. You'll always hear something, see something, feel something.
Yeah, right.
You need to learn it's a silence of the world that we are perceiving in this third dimension. If we can learn to silence all of that noise, we can actually allow ourselves to open our eyes to other things.
Yeah, and you don't have to meditate to do it. You don't have to sit there, yoga poses. You don't have to, I find my silence a lot is just, I believe, listening to music so loud that windows are shaking, but I'm not really listening, and I can operate the car and I'm doing everything fine. It's not like I'm detached from my body. It's just silence. And within that silence, though, you start to discover more of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I have. I mean, it could go on and on and on.
Oh yeah, we could. I mean, we could make this a 3-hour ordeal, but I know you got to go to work in a little bit, and I actually, I'm probably going to go see that movie. It starts in about an hour, so I'm going to have to let this render and all that stuff before I go.
All right.
So yeah, yippee-ki-yay.
Well, I have enjoyed. I hope we get to do this again sooner than later.
So okay, I have Sundays off. Okay, so every Sunday I have off. So if you want to try and do this on Sundays, we can try and get together. Sunday's the only day off that I have, unless it's like raining, which
I usually have Sundays off.
You usually have Sundays off? Are you there?
Oh, yep. Sorry, I accidentally hit the cord. I do. I have Sundays off. I take them off usually to, spend time with the family. But I will say that, morning time, if we can manage to do it in the morning, they're always busy in the morning.
Oh yeah, we can start trying to get it done in the mornings for sure.
Yeah,
I wake up at 5:15 every morning. There's usually on Sundays. My only day off, I still wake up at 5:15, like as if I was going to work, and I get all my laundry and I go and I do my laundry before it gets hot. And then I come back. So after I get done with my laundry, we can absolutely go tear it up.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Then we can definitely try to, maybe get back in the swing of things for people. Maybe they'll enjoy. I hope you guys do.
Oh yeah, I do too. And gosh dang it, Figgs, it's been too long since we talked to each other. Goodness gracious.
I know.
Even though folks, you would think that we talk to each other regular, but we just pop on here and like we just talked yesterday. But no, we haven't talked since the last time we did a video. Actually, I think.
Not really. Well, no, I called you once.
Okay,
yeah. You one day where you were out mowing. I made you listen to my epiphany.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That is true. So yeah,
it has been a while.
Yeah, it has been. So. But that's one thing I will say when it comes to good friends or like family, because like Figs, you're like my sister. I love you to death. And when you've got a good, and I'm going to say spiritual friendship, you could go a long time without seeing each other or talking. And then when you do, it's like, oh, hey, like we just talked yesterday, just do.
Yeah. And then really, I think people should do that too. It's just like dropping little notes. Sometimes I find something and I don't expect ever, I know you're busy. You'll respond if you have something to say, or you're just going to see what I sent. And that's good enough. I think people need to, think about that too. When you're in these relationships, we're also inundated with not only the world, but spiritually, and, we're all hanging on, right? So some weeks may be better. Sometimes you go months, right? It's been months for us.
Yeah, it's been
But
months since like maybe one time since our last video, and that was a while ago.
yeah.
Goodness priest, we got to get on the ball here, Fix. We got to try.
I have so many things to say.
I know. I mean, we don't
It's all
necessarily do it
spiritual,
every
though.
Sunday, but like if we could try to, if we can see if we can make it happen like every other Sunday, so that way we kind of have that little break or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be a good plan. And, I don't know, like you'll have to, maybe people can chime in with some of the stuff that they would like to hear about,
Oh yeah.
as well.
Yeah, for sure. Drop down some topics in the comments, folks. We're open to, oh, hey, give us something to look at and research and bring up, and when we can share with other people. If you've got inside knowledge that you want to get shared that you haven't seen in other channels or things that we haven't touched on, leave it in the comments. We'll definitely take a look at it and see how much information we can gather up. And if there's not a lot, we'll still add that into maybe another comment and maybe make it a Psycho Clown World Shotgun Edition, where you're kind of covering multiple topics and just I mean, we've done that a couple times. We've done shotgun episodes. So today's episode was it's kind of funny. It's almost shotgun now because it was primarily about BlackRock, but we got into a whole bunch of stuff, didn't we?
Yeah, you had to know that was going to happen if you put me on here.
Yeah, well, I knew it was going to happen because we haven't done a video in a long time. So we're like,
I know, I have things to say, man.
Yeah, I know. It tends to happen when we go this long. Oh, well. Anyways, Figs, I love you, sissy. I'm glad that you were able to join me today to do this. And
Thanks
folks,
for the invite.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, I was excited when you were like, yeah. I'm like, what?
It happened.
And to be honest with you, even though you weren't able to make to the birthday chat bash thing, you know what? I'm glad I got you all to myself right now.
Well, thank you.
That's like a birthday present all for myself. I get to talk to my sissy. Woo!
I wanted to. It's so hard. It's so hard with everything. So I'm glad that we did get to catch up because it was bumming me out. I kept missing you all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like an hour window, and it was driving me insane. So I do. I love you tons, and I hope you had a great birthday. And
you too. Give the husband and the kids a big squeeze for me.
I will. You have a great day, okay?
All right.
And everybody else, I love you, and I will talk to you soon, I hope.
Yes, we love you all, and we'll catch you all on the next one. But keep your eyes open, folks. No fear, and remember that love is the only way forward.